In the beginning of the film, we are shown the world's biggest and most difficult Shaolin school, where children are taught kung fu and karate, where a boy named Fang was ready for his last competition, in which it will be decided whether he is an expert in kung fu and fighting. For the competition, he goes to the test that was going to happen today was very difficult. Because very few people were able to pass the test. Fang had to fight with some wooden puppets, which were controlled by some brave warriors, but he was sure that he would somehow pass this test. And as soon as he signals that he is ready, 2 attacks are made on him at the same time. Those wooden puppets move towards him quickly, but he moves aside and escapes very easily. But the third time, it happens directly on his chest. He does not get a chance to move back this time. But then he opens his arms and hits his leg hard on the ground. Whose strength was so strong that his shirt tears and flies in the air. His body begins to turn golden. It felt like there was a cover on his body. Now this was a technique of kung fu in which Fang was quite skilled. He jumps there and after a lot of one-after-one punch, breaks all the puppets. All of them were scattered below. Now he was thinking that everything is over. Suddenly all the pieces of the puppets come together. And now he had become a very big puppet, whose front Fang was looking small. Looking at him, Fang understands that he cannot be defeated no matter how much strength I apply. That's why he walks and jumps on that puppet and catches all the stars with which the warriors were controlling him. As soon as this happens, all the warriors fall down. As their stars are caught, the puppet breaks and scatters in many pieces. And here Fang wins this test and leaves as a great kung fu expert. After this, we see an officer who was a big cheater because he stole a lot of money from the government treasury for his purpose. So much money was the biggest theft ever, but he didn't want anyone to know about it. So that's why he got his partner killed, because he was also involved in this theft. And now the officer was looking for that paper which had all the information which was made by the officer's partner. And now he had hidden it somewhere. There Fang comes to the village and meets his childhood friend. He also had another friend whose name was Rong. Now when these two were going to meet Rong, they see a fighter on the way. Who was a very tall and brave man. He was very good at fighting. He was killing a man. To save that man, Fang attacks him, but he was so powerful that he kills Fang with a single punch. And he rotates round and round and with which he understood that this fighter is not an ordinary man. It is very difficult to defeat him. This fighter actually worked for the officer. Now the fighter came here for this work. Because he didn't do it, so he sits on his horse and leaves from here. Fang also sits on the horse and follows him. And now these people were standing in the middle of the market. Now before he fights, Fang's mother comes here in a very violent way. She grabs Fang by the ears and takes him home. So that he doesn't get into these fights. She beats him first. And she locks him up and forbids him to go out. But Fang was not going to sit comfortably at home. As soon as he gets a chance, he starts running away from here quietly. That's when he sees his neighbor. She screams when she sees him. Now before Fang asks him, "What are you doing here?" That girl sees a lot of soldiers coming here. She hides immediately. The soldiers come to Fang and ask him, "Yes, girl, have you seen a girl here?" But Fang hurts the girl to save her life. No, brother, I have not seen them the wrong way. The girl comes out and says to Fang, "Thank you, you saved my life." That's why Rong and Fang's friend came here. When Rong sees them together, she says to Fang's friend in sadness, "This girl is standing with my childhood friend." Which means that there is something between these two. Now the poor girl gets angry and leaves from there. But Fang also goes behind to make her understand. When Fang's friend was going, a soldier stops him. And he shows a picture of a man and asks him, "Do you know about this man? Where will you get him?" That picture was of Rong's dad. That's why he hides and refuses that he doesn't know. When he comes home, his friend tells Rong that some soldiers are looking for your dad. On which she says, "How will they catch my dad like this?" As his friend leaves from here, Rong takes out a box which had the same paper in which there was information about theft. And the officer was looking for it. So here we know that Rong's dad was actually the keeper of this paper. And now he is the only person who can get the officer punished through this paper. This is the reason that the soldiers were looking for him. Fang comes to Rong's house. Fang's friend tells him that Rong is not at home. He is missing. And I think the businessman has kidnapped him because the people of Kalish were looking for Rong's dad. After knowing this, Fang immediately goes to find the businessman who was fighting with the people in the city. Fang comes there in the style of a warrior and asks the businessman, "Where is my friend?" He replies, "How do I know about your friend? You had to keep your friend safe, right?" Because of this, the fight started between the two. But Fang defeated him very easily in his kung fu style. But Fang feels bad when the businessman accepts his defeat with a smile. He says, "Okay, boy. I have given up on you. And now you will be my son-in-law. Because I was looking for a proposal for my daughter. And my condition was that I will marry my son to the same boy who will defeat me in the fight. And today you did that work." This time the businessman was happy. And everyone goes to congratulate him. After hearing this, Fang understands that he really does not know anything about wrong. But if I stay here for some more time, then he will forcefully get his son married to me. From here quickly. When Fang reaches home, Wrong had come back. She says that I had never been kidnapped. In fact, I had gone by my own will. And now you both will not do any drama. I don't want to listen to anything about you. I know that it is really your matter. Now they were going on like this. Sometimes someone gets angry, on the way and back sometimes home, someone else. The businessman's men surround Fang and the neighboring girl. The businessman comes and asks the girl that where has my daughter been missing for so many days. Fang finds out that actually this neighbor is the daughter of the businessman. And for this, he was looking for a relationship. And he also tells the truth here that my man was looking for Wrong's dad because the officer had told him to do so. Because the businessman was the officer's man. After hearing this, Fang realizes that Wrong's life is in danger. So he immediately goes to save her. But it was too late. Because he had already caught Wrong and her dad, the officer's soldier was Wrong's dad. He asks for the papers. But when he refuses to give, the soldier says that if you don't give then I will kill your daughter. But still his dad doesn't give up and gets ready to fight with him alone. But soon he realizes that he can't face so many people alone. So he sacrificed himself to save that paper and his daughter's life. He cut his throat with a sword. Then Fang comes here. Before this, he had saved Wrong's dad. It was too late. Because he was dead. All the soldiers attacked him on seeing Fang. But as soon as he comes, he was punching someone and throwing someone away. So the remaining soldiers left with a knife around Wrong's neck. When the officer comes to know that Fang had come in my mission as a hurdle, and my soldiers didn't get that paper, then he calls the fighter and orders him to somehow kill Fang and give me that paper. Now the fighter doesn't like this, but now he has to bow down in front of that officer. Fang gets a letter on which it was written that come to one place with that paper by night. And if you don't come, if you don't do this, then we will kill Wrong. Fang arrives at the said place with the paper. He easily hands over the paper to the soldier. Everyone was surprised that he gave the paper so easily without fighting. And now, as soon as the soldier opens it, he finds out that this paper is fake. The fight between Fang and the fighter begins. In the fight, the fighter's dad puts poison powder on Fang, due to which his powers are reduced by a lot. But the fighter's dad was also very injured. The fighter's attention was on his injured father. So he takes him away from here. And now, as soon as the soldier himself moves forward, then his mom and businessmen come here and save him. Fang is bathed with a little bit of water after bringing home, so that the effect of the poison is over. The soldier tells the fighter and his dad that I give you the last chance to save your life. Go and kill Fang. Bring that paper. Otherwise, we will kill you. Now, if there is no way, the fighter leaves his dad and goes to kill Fang. Fang was completely fine. And now he starts looking at the picture that Wrong had given him. And as soon as he presses the button, and that paper comes out of it, with which these people understand that by giving this paper, we will save Wrong. Such an officer will not be punished. Fang then gets the letter of the fighter. That's why he leaves here immediately. When they come in front of each other, they start fighting. The fighter was threatened by the soldier. That's why he fights with Fang with a lot of strength. But he can't defeat him. But Fang also does not kill him here, but leaves him alive home and sees that my dad is dead. So he starts crying very sad. So Fang's friend reaches outside the officer's house and says that leave my friend Wrong. In return, I give you that paper. On that spot, the injured Wrong is brought. His face and clothes were covered with blood, which proves that he has been tortured a lot. As soon as his friend gives the paper, Fang comes in between and kicks stops him. All this from happening. That's why Fang's mom and businessmen also came here. And all these people were ready to fight with the officer's companions. And now finally, as soon as the officer comes here, the officer was the expert of the most dangerous level of kung fu. And today, for the first time, Fang realizes that he has clashed with a very powerful punch like Fang. He's so strong that even the copper skin can't stand. Fang was injured. His mouth starts bleeding. Being weak, the officer throws a piece of a sword at him. That's when Wrong comes in front. The piece of the sword pierces the heart of the officer. The poor girl couldn't escape. While saving Fang, she herself is killed. Seeing this, Fang's friend is very angry. And now, as soon as he goes to kill the officer, that's when the officer hits him hard and throws him away. That poor girl also dies. Fang's mom and businessmen are also captured. And that's when the fighter comes here and starts killing the officer. Because of him, the fighter's dad died. Here, the businessmen tell him to take the paper and run away from here quickly. Then even though he doesn't want to, he takes the paper and runs away from there very bravely. But he is killed by him. The next day, the officer accused Fang's mom and businessmen and decided to hang them. To see their hanging, all the people of the city gathered. And now Fang had no other way than to bring the paper in front of everyone. He goes to the place where he was hanged and tells that the officer stole a lot of money from the government treasury. He did a lot of wrong things. I also have evidence against him. After hearing this, everyone starts protesting against the officer. Was very angry at this. Because if the king finds out about his theft, he will punish him for the same. So he tells his soldiers to attack the bed. But then the soldiers of the businessmen also come here. And now a lot of big fights break out between these two groups. On the other hand, Fang and the officer once again came face to face. But this time Fang used his strength as well as his brain. As he pulls a rope, a big stick goes straight to the officer's chest, due to which he was injured. Giving him a weak shield, Fang hit him one by one. And in the end, the copper skin punch that hit him, he fell quite far, due to which he was half dead. Outside, the officer's soldiers also lost with his entire army. Fang shows them that paper, and this proves that he had stolen the treasury, on which the king imprisons the officer to hang him. With this victory, everyone was very happy. Here the neighbor girl was standing very close to Fang, and the donkey shakes, due to which we understand that Fang also started liking him. This great movie story ends here.